We're back for another episode with Austin. This week, I'm going to make sure that I don't have the same or similar opening gaff like I did last week. So we'll leave it at that. Welcome back to the podcast, Austin.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we've got a great subject today. This is a subject we hear from so many people that we constantly have the same argument over and over again. Amy and I've kind of seen that in our own relationship, especially early on, where we would if we got in an argument or what have you, it would be over the same thing over and over
I
again.
wonder why.
I wonder why exactly. Um, and as we've spent a lot of time talking to Austin, I think he's mentioned this on the podcast as well previously that typically most of the people that he's seen have seen, two or three therapists before, right? And they keep having the same problems over and over again. So we thought it'd be really good to do a podcast today talking about what couples can do differently so that that doesn't keep happening. How can they actually get over what they're maybe arguing about so it doesn't just keep going on and on and on and be able to move on and progress past that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak personally just for a minute. I became a therapist to try to figure out our relationship. And I was learning all this stuff and I was like, oh, that's us. And like all these patterns. And like I had let's call it information. Um, the thing I didn't have is what I would call now is the ability for formation, which is, right, I needed growth, I needed change. And so what happens with a lot of couples is they give each other information. Hey, I feel this way. And eventually one of two things happens. A couple like this isn't working and they pull back and then they try again a little different and they might even do different for a short time. And then the old pattern kind
yeah,
of repeats.
exactly.
Or in a conversation, they do come to like a deep understanding and they feel seen and they like, okay, great, and then change doesn't occur either, right? And so um as you mentioned, like it's not uncommon for people to have been working on the same issues, I don't know, 10, 20 years. They've seen multiple therapists.
Just ask Amy. That was our marriage, right?
Right, us as
Right.
well.
Not 20 years, but
Not 20 years, I'll think
Right,
the Lord.
right.
yeah.
And so when I get on a call with someone, like they tell me the story and then I start to use language like, tell me the pattern, tell me the cycle, and then who does what, and they can tell me step by step, right? Okay, then what does he do next? Oh, he does this, and then what does she do, right? They know it, they don't know how to interrupt it, right? And so some of the most powerful things that we do is we create an experiential healing, not an informational understanding healing, but we need the body, like the nervous system, to experience something different. It's like the interaction needs to be updated at like the core subconscious level,
Hmm.
where now I'm not going into fight or flight or whatever around this thing. And not going into fight or flight is not enough. That's like baseline.
Yeah.
We also need a new skill set where we consciously know how to do the relationship differently. Doing the relationship differently enough times then becomes unconscious in a new way, right? It's like repetition, right? The more you practice it, the subconscious goes, oh, this
Yeah.
is how we do it now, right? And so I think one of the things that's missed both by couples in a non-therapeutic sense, but even in some of the best couples therapy, I think one of the things that gets missed that I've found to be the most advantageous is, let's call it first, we need to calm the nervous system of two people, right? We need to create, hey, I want something different, but the fact that it's not different is no longer like threat level
Yeah.
panic, right? And we need some skill sets where when you approach each other, you're not coming with like this panicky, urgent energy that can feel, I mean, it can feel controlling, it can feel critical, it can feel, I mean, scary, right? Some people feel that fear of their spouse coming to them. And so a lot of times what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help each individually learn to regulate that, I'm going to call it nervous system level. Sorry, I did this backwards. Nervous system level, subconscious level, emotional level, right? And then I would say we're coming more up to like love and connection. And we're trying to help them each individually and together, that co-regulation piece. um, this is why when couples say something like, hey, I'm going to go work on me with an individual therapist for our relationship, you can have all sorts of insights, you can have all sorts of skills, then you come back to the relationship and you do
Yeah.
this thing, right? um, it was interesting, so I'll share this. I remember like actually talking to one of my individual therapists. I was like, why can I sit with couples in like complete, traumatic chaos and like I'm calm, and then like my wife like looks at me a certain way and I'm
Yeah.
like a wreck, you know what I mean? Um, and he's like, because your emotions aren't, like, you care about your clients, but you're not emotionally a part of the relationship. It doesn't, right? But because she matters so much, you're like on high alert, and you're like, are we okay? Are we okay? Are we okay? And so that sense of security, helping couples feel this sense of like, hey, this old pattern, neither of you are choosing it. It's kind of happening to you. Let's unite you against the pattern, not against each other, and train you with a new way of relating that becomes automatic over time. When couples get that hope that like, oh wait, you're telling us we can do this, that often creates the investment of, let us train in the skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I wrote down a few notes as you mentioned this idea. The idea is like, what can couples do differently? So this sounds strange because it's not a, I don't know, it's not a couples therapy technique, but um, if each couple will like take the time to regulate their nervous system, and I'm going to say not just before you have a conversation because it can dysregulate really rapidly. I tell couples all the time, like, why don't you take 2 months and do a daily practice that starts to calm your nervous system? It increases your capacity to in essence go, I'm feeling like there's danger to our relationship. I'm feeling like we're going to disconnect. I can self-soothe, I can calm myself, and I can bypass the message of fear or shame or rejection, whatever's playing out, and then I can interact with my spouse from a different space. It's like, let's call it state of being. And so, right, we know this. Like, if one of you were to come to the other, frustrated and like, you never, and you're always this way, like it brings up a wall
Oh,
instantly,
yeah.
and that's right. Gottman talks to these, we call them soft startups. Okay. I would say soft startups not enough. Okay. You need soft, right? You need calm, and you need the ability. And again, this is a skill set, the ability to twofold. Oh, I'm dysregulating. Let me take a minute and like having a skill to like, let's call it down regulate and come back to intention and love. And the second skill set is a real like, hey, can we take a pause for a minute? Okay. Not a forever pause, might be a couple minutes as well, and a comeback kind of thing. Okay. So, my wife had a conversation the other day, and she was aware before me, um, that she was feeling, let's call it nervous. And she said, "You seem off to me." And I said, I'm okay. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am okay." And she said, "Maybe I'm not." She's like, "Can we take 2 minutes?" And she's like, "Are you okay to go out for a minute?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, I'll come back, and making sure I'm in a good place. And I did. I went and like checked myself and like, do I have something going on for me? And actually I did. Like, she was aware. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety that's coming across as urgency. Something shifted. Let me get more intentional. And we came back and we finished the conversation, and it, where it used to would have spiraled, and then I call it fighting about the fight. You did this 10 seconds ago and you did, right? Like, instead we just, hey, what are we trying to accomplish here? Let's do it without the,
Well, and I think you just hit a key that I think what really causes people to have the same arguments over and over again. And that comes back to like finger pointing or lighting that match or igniting like
Right.
it's so natural to want to defend ourselves and say, well, you did this or you said this, and then that just reignites that fire and
Right.
everything again. And I think that's so powerful when you can be in a state of mind or whatever you want to call it, that you can, as much as you want to do that, that you can not do that, right? Like I think there's certain things that can either ignite the fire or certain things that can put the fire out.
Yeah.
And we as humans typically have that behavior that we want to throw gas and light that fire and keep that fire going for whatever reason, right? Instead of having maybe the tools that, okay, how do we smother that fire so that it doesn't ignite again, right? And
Right.
it stays dormant.
Yeah, let me speak to that because I like this is something I've had to work really hard on personally, like to not be impulsive with trying to resolve something from a state that's not yet truly like at love, right? Is I think the idea there. And so the idea would be we need an experience that is, I'm going to call it corrective, right? It's like, okay, we're talking about an old problem. We both need to have this emotional experience where we feel seen, right? This idea of intimacy that we talk about. Like, I feel truly understood. I feel valued. You also feel understood and valued. And now we're making a decision together. It's not I don't know, like a tug of war.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, and I see this with couples all the time. Like, what do you guys want? We both want a happy relationship. Let's define that. And it looks pretty similar, right? They might have different priorities of what they value most, but like everybody wants, if we're going to be intimate, I'd like it to be great for both of us. If we're going to parent, I'd like it to be great for all, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so when couples say like we want to connect, I often say then you're not consciously disconnecting. That's not what either of you are choosing. This is happening to you somehow. And when they see that, they start to see each other differently. It's like, oh, you're not trying to hurt me. You're not caring about me. And so, in the therapeutic context, what we try to facilitate is a new experience. Same old, thing, experience different, and you start to see it differently. It's like, oh, you weren't rejecting me because you don't love me. You actually do love me, and you were protecting our connection in a way you thought would be helpful by stepping back. What I thought was rejection was actually protection. Oh, right. That updates things. And so the challenge for a lot of couples is they come to an understanding, they have intentions for new action, it's top of mind, but it's not in like the memory bank as a regular automatic behavior, right?
Yeah.
And so I tell couples like we need to make this a way of life. Like temporarily, like put it in your calendar that you need a reminder, right? Have a document that you come back to whatever every day, once a week. It's like we are doing this relationship different. We're doing it at a higher level because we want to keep it here, not dip, cat, right? That kind of thing. And so I want to go back, if it's okay, just for a minute to this idea of I would say the foundation of every relationship has to be safety. Okay. We say that every relationship starts insecure. Okay. I meet a new person. I might be secure as a person. I don't know the state of this relationship yet. It's brand new. So there's insecurity of can I trust you? Who are you? Right. And you take a little risk and you see how they respond. And you take a little risk, you see how they respond. And they take a little risk, right? And
Yeah,
you see
so true.
other, right? This is what brings couples together, right? Hey, we see each other, we like each other, and then something says, I don't see you, I don't like you, right? And this is the idea. And then they're coming to each other and they're saying, in essence, when you do XYZ, it makes me feel unseen and cared for, right? Oftentimes, if we can come with, I really want to understand this, um, and I'd like to be understood, right? Then you have space to like update that information. And then the skill set, I don't want to call it meditation. I don't think that's the right way, but one of the tools I use with couples all the time is like some guided processes that are very intentional of we want you to feel in your body at a somatic level, peace, confidence. We want you to feel individually that I am lovable and I am capable. And if you can hold that, then your spouse isn't really going to be able to rob that from you, because that's what's happening for a lot of couples.
Yeah.
It's like, you're making me feel unlovable or not valued by XYZ. Go ahead.
What's the correlation? And I think I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyways. What's the correlation between a couple trusting and feeling safe with each other and being able to resolve conflict versus a couple that doesn't trust or feel safe with each other? Because you're kind of analogy of like, oh, I'll do this and okay, I trust you, and we get a little bit closer. That's so true. I think looking at our experience when that trust wasn't there, I think it was really hard to resolve that conflict, right? But
Yeah.
if as I was hopefully able to build that trust back, showing her that, okay, yeah, he is trying to do this better. He's showing me that he's trying to do this better. I felt like as the trust got little by little back, then the conflict was so much easier to be in a safe place to where we could talk about it without having things ignite and things like that. So
Yeah. That, I think, I would say, and I'll talk about each of those. Safety and trust, I think, are really important, but those help update, we call it an internal representation of my spouse, right? So if my internal dialogue is like, she's always whatever, 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 it doesn't matter how she shows up right now. I'm going to experience it through my own dialogue, my own lens. So when a couple focuses on safety and trust, okay, it's, oh, it's safe to be me with you. It's safe to have hard feelings with you. I can trust that you're going to, show me love and respect even when I'm not my best self, right? That experience over time creates the sense of, oh, I can come to you, you can come to me, and it's not like high alert, right? It's not like, wow, what does this mean, right?
defense goes up. Yep.
And so one of the examples that's helpful for this is, I see a lot of specifically women that they want connection, they like even affection, but they don't even want like a handhold. They don't want the slightest touch, because what's happened is, that first little bit of physical affection equals he's going to want sex, right? And it's like, I'm not ready for sex yet, but I am ready for this. And even though they want that connection, they push it away, right? And that becomes confusing for both. This is where we have to create that safety where, well, safety and trust. It's safe for us to hug. It's safe for us to kiss. You can trust that I won't pressure you for sex next, kind of thing, right? That needs to be done over time, experientially, where then her body calms and goes, oh, okay, it's safe to be here, because then I'm not expected or required to go somewhere I'm not ready for.
Yeah.
I tell couples all the time, and this isn't exactly what we're talking about, but pressure and intimacy, they don't work well, right? They just don't go well together. And so going back for a second, when we look at like actionable change, like I did this process with a couple last week. It was the first session with them, and I kind of heard what they, I'd spent some time with each of them individually and as a couple, and then this is like our first kind of session. And so I guided this process. It was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 minutes. And I guided them to like a state of being each individually, where they both felt in their body like, I'm lovable, I care about this person. And then I had them share their stuff, right? Like what's not working. And it was completely different from that state. Now I was there and helped, but once they were there, they didn't need me as much, right? Because what they were trying to do is get out of a painful emotional state together, and they were like, ah, right? I just helped them get there each individually and then interact, and the state was already changed. Now they can, we say this all the time, couples communicate fine when they're
Yeah.
when they're calm, right? And so, one of the things like traditional kind of couples therapy, a lot of what's happening is the therapist trying to create a safe environment, and they're interrupting the old pattern. And then they're going, oh, okay, this is where this happens. What just happened? And they block the whole thing, right? It's like, I'm not going to let you do what you do at home. We're going to do something different here. If couples can go very slow at home, where their goal isn't resolving the issue, their goal is resolving the pattern, okay, then they can resolve anything. Because the old,
Yeah,
because this is what couples say, like I'll say, I'll say, how long has this pattern been going on? And they say the whole time. And I'll say, and what types of topics can lead to it? Well, like anything. We can be talking about the kids, whatever, on Friday. All of a sudden, we're talking about something from 10 years ago, right? That's the body trying to resolve an old pain by giving examples of how bad you sucked in the past to your spouse. Somehow we think that's going to change Friday night's, date night or whatever. It doesn't. It doesn't work, right? Then we're in defensiveness and all the stuff. So
so the couples out there listening, if you were to give them two or three things that they could both practice and do together to help, you know, help with this, what would that be? Like if you just dumb it down and say, first thing I do is A, second thing I do is B, and knowing that obviously there's not a one size fits all, every situation's different, but I mean, what are some things couples could do to start practicing this changing to a different pattern?
yeah, I would say the first thing is when they're interacting, explicitly make safety the goal. Okay. My goal of this conversation is to maintain safety. Okay.
Love that.
I want you to feel safe with me. If I misstep, we're going to just stay right there. Okay. This takes a lot of awareness. It takes the ability to kind of be aware when I go from love to self protection. I got to acknowledge that. Okay. So, this is, I would call it skill development. Awareness is number one. What happens for me? Okay. And then this intentional, like, hey, the whole goal of this is safety. Okay. I think that's a good starting point. And then,
Yeah, because if you feel safe, you're gonna everything's
right.
should be good from there.
Yeah. And then I think, we have some things that we've been working on that I think will help with this. Some tools I've developed over time that they're simple. They're guided processes. Like I wish I had have found them like 15 years ago. I mean, I wish I was taught them as a kid, right? Those have been more significant for myself and my relationship and the couples I work with. And maybe we put together something where we can guide a process that just starts to like really shift this. I do this with couples when we get started in like a renewal. I'll spend like maybe the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, like a deep experience of them seeing the old pattern and like updating it in their body of like, we're not going to do that anymore. Right. Again, it's not information and insight. It's like, I really need something different internally. So we can provide some of that for couples that don't have that right now. I think the place I would do is I would write down what's really important for me in this relationship that I would like different. And then I'd come to your spouse, and this is where it's vulnerable. Say, like, I'm assuming that you want to have a healthy relationship and be happy. I want to understand and meet your needs. I believe you want the same. Can we approach this as a team? Like where this aspect of our relationship works for both of us and this aspect works for both of us. If you unite with your spouse instead of coming at them with you're not doing it well enough, that in and of itself shifts a lot. I will tell you, my work becomes significantly easier with couples when the very first session I help them have a vision of what's possible and I help them see that this is happening to them. They're not choosing to fight, it's
Yeah.
reactive. And I start to unite them with, hey, you guys can do this together. When they feel like a team again going somewhere, even though it's not all worked out, the body starts to soothe because the biggest fear is I'm alone.
Yeah.
If right in like that first interaction it's like hey, we're not alone anymore, we're not where we want to be, but we're not alone anymore, we're going to go there together, we're going to figure that out. That that reduces a lot of stuff for people.
Well, I think that's fantastic advice because when I look back and remember the things that we were going through, the second we looked at things and said, all right, we're going to do this together as a team, that brought a great relief from me, even though maybe it was a problem that I caused,
Sure.
knowing that she would say, okay, even though you caused this problem, I'm going to work together as a team and support you, but we need to resolve this, but we'll do this together. And I think the two pieces of advice that you gave are absolutely awesome. I mean, I think those two things, if couples approach, resolving problems that way, they're going to be able to do that. And I was interested to see what you were going to say, and I think you were spot on, exactly with what we saw in our relationship as well. So.
Let me just slightly add this third one. Okay. I would say the baseline is insight doesn't equal change. And so as you have these conversations, the third skill set would be integration. How do we take this new understanding and do something different? Understanding
Yeah,
doesn't mean a
absolutely.
lot. Right? So if couples take that, like you really matter, I'm going to update my way of life to include this new information until it's a part of this, because neither of us want to keep doing this again. So we're
Yeah.
going to do something different. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fantastic advice. I think if couples follow that advice, we've seen it in our own relationship. You're not going to continue to have those same arguments and disagreements and fights over and over again. You'll actually be able to move on and be able to get past all that because I really do feel like that's one big thing that holds back so many couples from having the ultimate intimacy in their relationship that they want is those, continual things that often turn into bigger things in the relationship. And so we appreciate the feedback that you gave. We appreciate the insight. And again, I'm repeating myself, but that was spot on for Amy's and I's relationship as well. So we appreciate you being on and talking about this important subject. And if any of you feel like you want to get a hold of Austin, reach out to us at amy@ultimateintimacy.com. He's been able to help so many couples out there, and we just think the world of you, Austin. Thank you so much for being on. And to all of you out there listening to the podcast, we hope all of you find ultimate intimacy in your relationship.